Ever been handcuffed for watering your own flowers? I have. 2 minutes past an HOA deadline, and suddenly I was criminally trespassing on my own property. Sirens, neighbors peeking out, bathrobe flapping in the wind. That's the moment I realized, suburban tyranny wears designer heels and carries a clipboard. 6:47 a.m. steam rising from my coffee, dew shimmering on petunias. A peaceful morning, until Cordelia Hale lost her mind. Criminal water theft, she screamed, phone in hand, stopwatch glinting in the dawn light. Moments later, 3 patrol cars rolled in like I was running a cartel. Handcuffs clicked, and I thought, lady, you have no idea who you just messed with. Because I'm Judge Bartholomew Sterling. Retired. 30 years on the bench, and I just got arrested for watering flowers. Let me back up. After 3 decades of sentencing real criminals, I figured retirement meant tomatoes, naps, and maybe the occasional crossword. My wife, Miriam, and I bought our dream home in Birchwood Commons, the kind of neighborhood with smiling mailboxes and matching mailmen. The air smelled like mulch and new beginnings. Neighbors waved. Mrs. Penelope, kind eyes, shaky hands, welcomed us with cookies. Finally, someone who understands justice, she said. I smiled. If only I knew. Enter Cordelia Hale, self-appointed queen of Birchwood Commons. Imagine every power-drunk middle manager you've ever met. Now give her an HOA title and a perfume cloud strong enough to suffocate small mammals. Day 3 of retirement bliss, she strutted up my driveway in heels sharp enough to pierce concrete. Clipboard in hand. Welcome to Birchwood. Just a few tiny violations. My crime? Tomatoes. Real ones. In soil. On property I own. Apparently, that violated subsection 37B, no unapproved botanical installations visible from communal sightlines. I tried reasoning, legal citations, common sense, even binocular demonstrations. But she cut me off. Judge, she said, like it was an infection. Rules are rules. I pulled the tomatoes and planted overpriced shrubs that attracted exactly 0 hummingbirds. I told myself, pick your battles. I had no idea the war was coming. It started with whispers at mailboxes. Mrs. Penelope leaned in one morning. 2 years in terror, she whispered. $500 for Christmas lights, 8 hours early. Another neighbor, Sarah Henderson, confessed her children hid from Cordelia. They call her the mean clipboard lady, she said, tears brimming. The deeper I dug, the darker it got. Cordelia wasn't enforcing community standards, she was running a protection racket in pearls. Arbitrary fines, selective targeting, and intimidation disguised as policy. A pattern emerged. Families with limited resources. Young parents. People who looked or sounded different. She used bureaucracy like a weapon. And I'd just become her next target. Then came the infamous Watergate. A red violation notice taped to my door, criminal water theft, $200 fine due immediately. Her claim? I'd watered until 6:47 a.m., 2 minutes past the HOA limit. My timer, however, shut off precisely at 6:45. I'd set it myself. Which meant, Cordelia wasn't enforcing policy. She was watching me. Every morning, 6:43 sharp, she'd appear, fitness outfit, stopwatch gleaming, clipboard raised like a radar gun. That's when I decided, time to flip the script. I installed a professional timestamp camera aimed at my sprinkler controls. NASA-level accuracy. What I discovered? Her designer watch ran 3 minutes fast. She'd been manufacturing crimes out of thin air. And just when I thought it couldn't get more ironic, the footage showed her own sprinklers running until 6:52. Every single morning. Armed with evidence, I invited Cordelia for coffee. The smell of desperation and department store perfume hit before she knocked. Let's talk violations, I said, spreading timestamp photos like poker cards. Her face cycled through every emotion in the DSM. These photos are illegal surveillance, she shrieked. Taken from public sidewalks, I replied, sipping victory. Exactly the same surveillance you've done on mine. Her next move? A 911 call, right there in my kitchen. Police. He's trespassing on irrigation schedules. Trespassing. On irrigation schedules. I'd heard creative legal theories, but that one belonged in a museum. When officers arrived, including one I'd once sworn in as detective, Cordelia squared her shoulders. You'll see what real authority looks like, she hissed. I smiled. Because every word she'd just spoken was captured on my camera system, in glorious HD. 2 weeks later, she doubled down. My daughter Jessica came to visit. Her boyfriend parked in the guest spot, perfectly legal. By morning, another fine, guest vehicle exceeding 24-hour limit. Problem? The covenant clearly allowed 48 hours. I'd read the original document at the county recorder's office. Cordelia had literally invented her own timelines. Then came the blitz. Violations rained across the neighborhood. Kids chalk art equals graffiti. Barking dog during thunderstorm equals disturbance of peace. Newspaper off-center equals improper placement zone. Every single citation targeted the same vulnerable families. Meanwhile, her allies parked wherever they pleased. But one night, a trembling knock changed everything. Sarah Henderson stood on my porch, clutching a violation letter. Her voice broke. She threatened to call Child Protective Services. Said our kids' toys by the window count as neglect. CPS. For toys. That's when irritation turned to fury. Cordelia had crossed into criminal territory, weaponizing fear and false authority. That evening, I convened an emergency board meeting. 2 other members showed up, terrified. She threatened to ruin my accounting business, said Frank Morrison. She said she'd go after my teaching license, whispered Linda Park. The truth hit hard. She'd blackmailed the entire board into silence. Friday night, the community hall buzzed with tension. Folding chairs squeaked. Cordelia sat at the head table, smug as ever. We're here to address residents who disrupt community harmony, she declared, staring at me. I rose slowly, holding a manila folder. Before we discuss violations, let's review what the actual rules say. Gasps rippled as I handed out copies of the real covenant. Section 7.3c, guest parking, 48 hours. Not 24. Not her fantasy interpretation. Cordelia's face blanched. Those are outdated, she snapped. Show us where it says you can rewrite them, I replied. Silence. The kind that screams guilt. And then, her breaking point. She whipped out her phone. I'm calling the police. Right now. Another 911 call. Another false report. This time in front of 60 witnesses. Some people just can't help self-destruction. Over the next week, she filed 12 complaints. 12. Stalking, harassment, conspiracy, you name it. Officers Martinez and Torres, now visibly exhausted, showed up one last time. Judge, we're getting tired of being her personal security detail, Martinez muttered. 4th complaint this month. Then came the real jaw-dropper. Mrs. Penelope appeared at my door, pale and trembling. She sent immigration officers, she whispered. They said my granddaughter's lemonade stand is illegal. My heart dropped. Real agents? No, fake ones. Cordelia had hired actors to impersonate federal officials and terrify an immigrant grandmother. A felony, wrapped in perfume and arrogance. And then, the letter. Goldfoil letterhead. Birchwood Commons Legal Department. Demanding $75,000 in damages for systematic harassment of duly elected officials. Except, Birchwood Commons had no legal department. The address? A UPS store. The lawyer? Fictional. It was over. Saturday morning, I met Officer Martinez at the diner. He slid a manila folder across the table. 12 false reports, he said. Impersonation. Fraud. Harassment. His expression hardened. We're opening an investigation. I looked out the window as sunlight spilled across Main Street. Took long enough, I murmured. The smell of coffee and bacon mixed with something sweeter, justice. A month later, Birchwood Commons held a new election. Cordelia was absent. Officially, resigned. Unofficially? Let's just say she's got plenty of time now to read HOA bylaws, in a very quiet, federally supervised environment. They say power reveals character. In Cordelia's case, it revealed rot. But it also revealed something else, the courage of ordinary people to stand up once someone lights the match. I moved my tomatoes back into the yard. Mrs. Penelope's granddaughter opened her lemonade stand again, first customer, Officer Martinez. And every morning, as my sprinklers click on right at 6:45, I sip my coffee, breathe the scent of wet earth, and smile. Because sometimes, justice blooms right where you plant it.